Now guys, today's video is a special one as I'm gonna review the SpaceMouse Enterprise Kit 2. If you follow my channel, you already know that I'm a huge fan of this device. I'm using the previous model, the old Space Pilot Pro, for a little bit more than 7 years now, and as this one is not supported anymore in several different applications, I reached out to 3Dconnexion and they were so kind to send me the SpaceMouse Enterprise Kit 2, which is available in this form since 2020. It contains the SpaceMouse Enterprise and the cadmouse Pro wireless. And besides the amazing opportunity to review the device, 3Dconnexion also provides you with a special offer that's only available for the next 48 hours. So if you want to know how to get a 20% discount on all 3Dconnexion products, stick with me until the end of this video where I show you how to apply the promo code. But first, I'm gonna quickly unpack the device and take a look at what's inside the box. Then I show you guys how to set it up and how to use it, followed by some general tips and tricks. Timestamps for this video are included in the description. Now, before we start, and for those of you who do not know what this is, let me point out the three main benefits this fancy thing comes with. So first of all, it's a one navigation solution for almost every major 3D application. So this means that you can switch between 3ds Max or Fusion 360, SolidWorks, Blender, Cinema 4D, and many others. And now even ZBrush. I mean, how cool is this? While using one and the same setup for viewport navigation. Then it allows you to orbit, pan, and zoom simultaneously, which is impossible by just using a regular mouse alone. And last but not least, and this is also something that many of you are not aware of before using the device for some time, the controller works independently from your cursor, which means that you basically have two controllers now instead of just a mouse. So I'm gonna show you how this works and what this looks like later on in the video. And because of all of these features, it always makes me a little bit suspicious when I see fellow CG artists working without having one of these controllers on the desk. I mean, you do whatever you can to speed up your workflow, right? And now let's open the box. Like I've just mentioned, the Kit 2 contains both 3Dconnexion premium products, the SpaceMouse Enterprise and the cadmouse Pro wireless. This also gets reflected in price. The set costs around $430 or 430 euros, taxes not included. It comes with a special mousepad for the cadmouse Pro and of course the cadmouse itself, which is shipped in its own solid case. A case for the SpaceMouse Enterprise is available too, but has to be acquired separately on the 3Dconnexion website. The cadmouse is available in a right-hand and a left-hand edition. Its ergonomic design is optimized for a natural wrist position, and when you use it in wireless mode and once it is fully loaded, it runs up to 3 months before it requires recharging. If you use it in wireless mode, you have two options. You can connect it via Bluetooth or via this little universal receiver, which allows you to connect up to 5 3Dconnexion products in total. If you decide to plug it into a free USB port, the package comes with two cables. One is 1.5 meters long and the second one which is 0.5 meters long. When you do so, you can use this little twin port USB hub to operate both the cadmouse and the SpaceMouse on a single USB port. And last but not least, here we have the SpaceMouse Enterprise with the controller in the center, surrounded by several different buttons that are all customizable and a color LCD display at the top. The device weighs 800 grams and sits nicely and solid on your desk. It's also worth mentioning that 3Dconnexion hasn't used any plastic for the packaging. Everything is wrapped up in paper and carton. I really appreciate this as a customer. Now next, I'm gonna set everything up and install the driver. As a right-hander, I place the SpaceMouse on the left, close to my keyboard, so that I can easily move my left hand back and forth between it and the controller. The device itself is connected with a USB cable. On the right, I place the cadmouse on the supplied mousepad. Now, the thing is, I haven't used a mouse for more than 15 years now. I exclusively work with a graphic tablet. This means that I'm the last guy on earth who qualifies for reviewing a mouse. And for this reason, I will also focus on the SpaceMouse Enterprise only in this video. Nevertheless, I've connected the cadmouse Pro via the little universal connector for this demonstration, and I can say that it moves effortlessly over the smooth surface of the pad and lies very well in the hand. Like on the controller, all buttons are customizable on the mouse too. As soon as everything is set up and connected, go to the 3Dconnexion website, click on Software, look for 3DXware 10, which is the foundation of your 3Dconnexion experience. It's available at the top here. And then I simply download the driver for the operating system of my choice. When you navigate back to the software page and scroll down a little bit, you will find a list of all supported 3D applications. And as you can see, this list is super long and contains all of the 3D programs that support the SpaceMouse Enterprise and the cadmouse Pro. And now, let's take a look at how to use the device. Now, let me show you how the controller allows up to 6 degrees of freedom. So I'm here in Fusion 360, and as you can see, my left hand rests on the SpaceMouse. And when I grab the controller and slightly shift it back and forth, I zoom in and I zoom out in the viewport. When I move it left and right, I pan the model in the same directions. And when I push the controller down, and pull it back up again, the model also moves up and down in the viewport. Now, this covers 3 degrees of freedom with 3 more to come. When I slightly tilt the controller back and forth, the model rotates accordingly. When I tilt it to the side, it rotates sidewards. And when I rotate the controller along the Z-axis, the model does the same. So the thing is now that I can perform all of these movements simultaneously. I can zoom in and zoom out while rotating the model, and I can also pan the model while it's still rotating. And all of this allows a very fast and very precise positioning of the model in the viewport. When I now switch to 3ds Max, it behaves the exact same way, even if the shortcut keys for viewport navigation are assigned differently. And I'm sure that you have noticed that it seems like I just barely touched the controller, but it actually takes quite some pressure as the joystick is mounted pretty firmly. So it's not wiggling around at all. But this is exactly what makes this precise positioning possible in the first place. Next, let's talk about the buttons next to the controller and the ones below the LCD screen. The LCD screen is not a touch screen, so this means that the icons you see on the screen are linked to the 12 function keys below the screen. This is probably a little bit hard to see here because the cover of the LCD screen is reflecting the light a little bit too much. But basically, if I would switch back from 3ds Max to Fusion, also these icons change because in Fusion, different tools and different features are assigned to these 12 function keys. Then on the left, we have 9 keyboard modifiers. And on the right, we have 5 view keys and 3 additional custom view keys. This one here is a lock key. This one takes away some of the degrees of freedom of the controller. And down here, we have a fit key. So this one basically centers the model or centers the camera back to the model in the viewport of pretty much every 3D application. Now let's start with the menu button first. When I press it, then the property window pops up. As you can see, it tells us that we are currently working in 3ds Max. Down here, you can select the device. So the SpaceMouse Enterprise is currently selected. I could switch over to the cadmouse Pro wireless. In this case, also the menu down here changes a little bit. So let's switch back to the SpaceMouse again. Here we can change the LCD screen settings. I can, for instance, lower the brightness. If I move the slider over to the very left, I basically turn off the screen, and down here I can change the icon size from small to large. So the difference is not that huge, but I'm gonna keep it at small for the moment. And here you can change it to icons only or text only. and it changes immediately also on the screen. So I keep it on icons and text, confirm this. And now let's take a look at the advanced settings here. So when I click on it, again, these settings are individual for every 3D application you're currently working in. These are not universal settings, and this also means that these settings or the amount of settings changes depending on the application you use. Now, when you enable dominant, and let me move the model over to the side so that we can see what's going on. When you enable a dominant under navigation, then you basically take away the ability to pan, zoom, and rotate the model simultaneously. So this basically means that I now zoom, pan, and rotate one after the other. And whenever you feel that the controller behaves a little bit strange, then this is usually because this dominant function is enabled. So make sure that this one is always unchecked to have access to the 6 degrees of freedom all the time. In 3ds Max, the horizon is usually locked. So when I uncheck this one here, I can tilt the camera around in the viewport, which is probably not the best idea. So if I enable lock horizon again and touch the controller, it snaps back in place. Now for the rotation center, auto and use selected item is enabled. So this means that when I, for instance, select the upper leg here and click the fit button, it zooms into this portion or to this element, and then also the center of rotation lies inside the upper leg. The same goes, for instance, when I select the hand here, then the center of rotation is inside the hand. So let me bring back the menu one more time. And then I switch to other options, and here I check move objects, select the head, and now I can use the controller to move objects around in the scene. So this comes handy when you do animations, for instance. So let me undo this, bring back the menu one more time, uncheck move object, and move over to speed. And here you can basically change the speed for every axis. You could also reverse it here or activate and deactivate it. I usually don't touch anything here. I leave them all in the center, and I go to the main menu and change the speed here by moving the slider over to the left or to the right, and this changes the speed for all of the axes simultaneously. Then let's also take a brief look at the buttons menu. Again, this one is set specifically for the application that runs in the background. Here you can choose between the SpaceMouse Enterprise and the shortcut keys on the cadmouse Pro Wireless. So I switch back to the Enterprise again. On the left we have the 12 function keys. In the center are the keyboard modifiers, and on the right we have the custom views and the view keys. So basically you can assign all kind of keys to a button. So this means when I go to the Alt key here and down to keyboard and choose the control key, then the control key is assigned to the Alt key. Of course, this does not make any sense, so I'm gonna restore the defaults, but this is just to give you an idea that you can select anything here from the menu. You can also click on the title and type in your custom shortcut key combination. So for instance, I type in Control W, and then this shortcut key is assigned to the Alt button. So I'm gonna restore everything back to the defaults again. And when I now go over to one of these 12 function keys, I can, for instance, select one of the many controls that are available in 3ds Max. So let's see, let's go down to Edit Mesh and select Edit Soft Selection. And this one is now assigned to the first function key in the list. As you can see, it also shows up on the LED screen, and when I now press this button, this function is enabled. So I'm gonna set everything back to defaults again and close this menu. Now another thing I want to show you is how to use this view keys and the custom view keys. So I'll close the property window first, and when I press the ISO button, it rotates the model into an isometric view. The little F here stands for front view, right view, top view, and 90-degree angles. So when I click on this button here, it rotates the model into the front view. When I now try to rotate it by 90-degree angles, nothing happens because the horizon is locked. But when I switch to the top view and press this button again, then the model rotates by 90-degree angles. So I switch it back into ISO view. Whenever you see these little blue additions to the title, of each of these buttons, it means that two functions are assigned to it. So this means that, for instance, for the front view, if I press it once, I turn the model into front view. If I press and hold it a little bit longer, it turns it into back view. Of course, the same applies to the right view here. So if I press it once, I see it in the right view. And if I press and hold it for a little bit, it turns into the left view. So let me switch back to isometric view again. A very nice addition to these quick view buttons are the custom view buttons. So let's say I work on the feet of this character. So I zoom in and then I press and hold this V2 button, for instance, for a second or two until this message pops up. So this one tells me that the device has stored the configuration, and then I zoom out a little bit, press the button again, and it gets back where it was previously. So let's say I work on the hand, then I zoom in to the hand, press and hold the button for a moment, and when I now zoom out again, or let's say I set it into isometric view and press this button, it zooms into the exact same location as I had before, and so I can switch between different views without using the controller at all. And you can also press and hold one of the 12 function keys, and if you do this long enough, then this little head-up display appears on the screen, and here you can see what function is assigned to which key. Now I'm back in Fusion 360 and I have briefly assigned some of the tools to the 12 function keys. So I start a new sketch on the top plane first. Here I draw a straight line, I exit the line command, I add some dimensions. Let's make this 10 centimeters long and also turn it into a construction line. And now I'm of course still able to rotate the thing, which is not ideal as long as I'm drawing on a planar sketch plane. So I set it into the top view first, then I hit the lock button, and now I'm only able to pan and zoom the sketch. This is exactly what I'm looking for before I continue with a straight line at the top, followed by an arc, another straight line, and let's close this off at the bottom, like so. Then I select these two sketch entities, make them tangent, and let's also add a fillet around here, something like this. And then I double click on one of these lines to select all of them. I run the mirror command, select the construction line in the center as my mirror line. Double click on this sketch entity again to select one half, then I hold down the control key and select the other half, and then let's also run the offset command and offset it like so. And now it's time to unlock the controller again so that we can rotate the sketch. Before I click on the outer profile, open up the extrude command and extrude it a little bit. So this is what I was mentioning in the introduction. I can rotate, or I can navigate in the viewport and still have my cursor available to do all kinds of operations. So I can, for instance, keep rotating while I extrude this, and this speeds up the workflow quite a bit. So let's add some thickness, and I'm also gonna move this bottom face down a little bit before I complete this with a few extra fillets at the bottom, and maybe also round off these inside edges a little bit. As you can see, I was able to draw this while keeping my left hand on the SpaceMouse Enterprise all the time, so it wasn't necessary to touch the keyboard once. And finally, the SpaceMouse Enterprise now also works in ZBrush. Navigation is super smooth and very precise. The only downside maybe is that you are not able to manipulate the surface and navigate at the same time, but this is probably due to the fact that in ZBrush you do not orbit the camera around the object, but you actually rotate a 3D model on the 2.5D canvas instead. But besides this, it's a fantastic addition to ZBrush. This is already it for today's video. If you want to seize the opportunity and get 20% off on all purchases, go to the 3Dconnexion website, click on buy, and here select the product of your choice. I also want to mention that accessories are not included in this offer. Then go to review cart, and here you can enter the promo code which is included in the description below this video. Also keep in mind that this offer is only available for the next 48 hours. Now that's it from my side. If you like this video, smash the like button. If you like the content of my channel, consider subscribing. Thank you very much for tuning in, and see you in the next one.